Hi, I'm Senator Lou D'Alessandro, and I encourage everyone to listen to Matt Cunnerton, Unleashed, in the afternoon.
All right. Ah! Well, why do you say organist if you don't want... I don't understand the world anymore.
I know what boys like. I know what guys want. I know what boys like. Boys like. Boys like me.
Hi, and welcome to the QCC. No, you're not on Ward 13, although that was an old-fashioned introduction. We are going to have two types of show today, the QCC, and in about 15 or 20 minutes, the baseball show. But in both segments will be Elizabeth Ropp. I invited Liz on to give us an update about her bill, and go to it.
All right. So when we last left off, I was having a meltdown on your show about House Bill 575.
Exciting TV.
Yeah, exciting TV. This is a bill that I have put every ounce of my spare time into since it went from being a legislative service request to a full-on House bill. And even so, that would be the last 5 months. It is a bill that will help with our state's opioid epidemic. We have a lot of people who are in recovery. Recovery workers need more tools to help people on their path to recovery, prevent relapse.
And what you are seeking is an exemption from the licensing regulations of acupuncturists so that people like EMT, first responders,
certified recovery workers
who, like, say you go to Safe Station and you're troubled by drugs. Mm-hmm. You go to Safe Station and the EMT person could practice what's called ear acupuncture.
Ear acupuncture. Well, it would most likely be a certified recovery worker in a respite care center or another kind of recovery worker in recovery 28-day programs.
Right.
But in New Orleans, after Hurricane Katrina, emergency EMTs and even firefighters were learning ear acupuncture and practicing it in fire stations.
Right, because Safe Station's a good working paradigm, and how this is a thing that might be able to improve it. Yeah. So it's just, it would be the same as, see, I'm old enough, I was born in 1959, to know that, and Mr. Baseball, John Weeks, will be joining. I want you to join us later, John, because it'll be more dramatic after. Oh, geez, let's get to it. ADHD is a lot of fun. But in California,
Okay.
Mr. Baseball, I'm old enough to realize that EMTs, California was like the pioneer. But they had to have an exemption from the current law so that they could actually treat people. You know, and Jack Webb made a TV series, and it was so popular, it started to spread to the United States. But they had to have a specific, you know, from the regulations and the laws. So I would think it would be the equivalent of giving somebody an exemption, like, you know, say that you could practice CPR.
Yeah.
Which, you know, CPR, you don't have to be a physician and do what they did on me 3 weeks ago.
You don't have to be
Right.
certified to administer an EpiPen.
Yeah,
Or
which I
a
know that.
defibrillator.
I've done that.
Right.
Right. So
And there was even a doctor who testified at the Senate hearing saying that, you know, ear acupuncture is as safe as piercing ears. You don't need a certification to pierce ears.
right. I've had acupuncture many times over many years, and
So we want this as a tool for recovery. Ear acupuncture is something that has existed since, well, for a long time, because acupuncture has existed for a long time.
For
but
thousands and
the
thousands
ear
of years.
acupuncture protocol that is a standard protocol from the National Acupuncture Detoxification Association has been in existence since the 1970s.
Right.
And the protocol was developed in a drug treatment facility in the South Bronx during a heroin epidemic.
Right.
And it's the heroin epidemic that we have here in New Hampshire is probably worse than the heroin epidemic that happened in the South Bronx in the 1970s.
I lived in New York and was visited many times. I was there in about 83 to 84, and my God, the South Bronx was destroyed. There's a god-awful movie with Paul Newman called Fort Apache, the Bronx, where it's about that, and it even like is gross, and grotesque, and depressing as is. It was like whitewashing it. But you're talking about ground zero in a
Right.
heroin epidemic, and
Right.
this was developed
Right, exactly. And so
evidence-based.
you're asking me where we're at now with the bill.
Right.
So the bill had passed the House on the consent calendar.
Yes.
The bill was on the Senate consent calendar, and the day that I arrived at the State House for the vote, I found out that the bill was removed from the consent calendar, and an
We
amendment.
were all shocked.
We were all shocked. And an amendment that I didn't even realize really existed was slapped on at the last minute. And
Which made it, and many people would read the bill and think it was like
a different bill.
twisting it. And yeah.
A different bill. And so now, fortunately, the House committee is as great as it is. They don't like the amendment either. And so I couldn't have gotten better representatives who want to sit down for a committee of conference.
Now, Gary Hopper, who was Matt Connerton and him, they used to do, Matt Connerton, who's now in the radio, and you were on this morning, Matt Connerton Unleashed in the afternoon. Gary Hopper was a constitutionalist, very conservative, but
He supports the bill.
He
Yeah.
supports the bill because I've met Gary. We've been on the radio together. He was supporting the bill, and the senator that is putting the brake is Sharon Carson.
She introduced the amendment, but the amendment came to her through
Who?
Representative McGuire.
Who is Representative McGuire?
She's the chair of the House committee.
She's the chair.
And again,
What's her first name?
this is Carol McGuire.
Carol McGuire.
So I don't know what happened or why, but Gary Hopper asked Senator Carson on Facebook what happened and how basically HB 575 was amended to death by the Senate, and so this was her
can I read
response.
this
Yeah,
to you?
yeah, this is her response. This was the screenshot.
Should I use a voice? But everything's so politically correct. now.
Just read it.
Well, I was on Matt's show and I channeled
But I
his
know what
dear
you
old
mean.
Grammy.
I like to do impressions too, but I can't. But just read it.
Gary, you know that you can always ask me, and I will answer your questions. I think this is even
You make
worse.
it sound
reading
so
this.
romantic.
Sharon Carson, Gary, you know that you can always ask me, and I will answer your questions. The amendment was presented to the committee during the public hearing by House ED&A. Before we exec the bill, I checked with the board to make sure they needed the amendment and was told no. We went ahead and passed it. By Friday, I got a call from the board telling me that they needed the amendment. Go figure. I brought in the amendment as a floor amendment, and it passed. Imagine that. Since then, I received a call from the chair of House ED&A, and she wants a C of C just to make sure the amendment is okay.
Right.
The process is ongoing.
So that we could
Like reply.
Yeah, we could have passed this bill, but this amendment that was never approved by the House ED&A committee made it onto the bill.
What's ED&A?
Executive Departments and Administration.
Hey, can I ask you, is the general consensus on this reply? Well, we don't really have to look at the reply. We don't have to zoom in. Would this be called what, it was the old bully, bull, expletive deleted?
I don't know. Oh, no, it wasn't deleted. It's still online.
No, you're too young to remember the Watergate tapes. Expletive deleted. Little did we know, but this is before Trump, when the president swore like what they used to call, like a sailor.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Nixon, President Nixon. So they always would, when they released the tapes, it would be expletive deleted. See, so it's a generational thing. So the old bully bull expletive deleted.
I don't know.
Is this the old bully bull crap?
I don't know, but I don't know
This
why.
seems like a bunch of gibberish.
So
What's she up to?
I have no idea, but I don't know why she would call the licensing board. She wasn't even at the Senate hearing to see the licensing
Somebody asked
board
her, right?
try to restrict the bill so that it would be unimplementable. That's all the licensing board wanted, was to put restrictions around the bill.
Is she from Londonderry?
I think so, yes.
So could this be seen as hostility against Manchester, Nashua, and the cities that are bearing?
I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think there's any malicious intent. I just think.
Oh, Liz, you have such a nice.
But all I know is that I'm frustrated because it was on the consent calendar and it was supposed to pass, and I can't do anything else or think about anything else. This has been my life for the last 5 months.
Right, because this is going to cost maybe some people recovery time. Didn't we just set a record per capita? We have the highest overdose deaths from fentanyl.
Probably. And
Yeah.
actually, there were, the Attorney General confirmed 6 deaths from carfentanil. It actually takes some time.
Which is even worse.
Lab
Which is even
results to-
what fentanyl is to morphine. That is to fentanyl.
Right.
I tell you, there is a great deal of hostility towards Manchester in the House, like when we have with the kindergarten and things like that. When you go up there and Sharon Carson. Let's
Except-
see what we can find out.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know about hostility towards Manchester. I know that Manchester is actually providing most of the resources for the state through the state station.
Right,
through
we
the
did.
station program.
Our police through Granite Hammer
Right.
came up with our own money.
So
Yeah.
people should actually be pretty grateful to Manchester because people are coming from all over, not just New Hampshire, but all over New England for help through the safe station program.
Yes, but when you're co-hosting the baseball show, you'll know that Mr. Baseball's attitude as a Yankees fan is all of baseball, including Red Sox fans, should be grateful for the Yankees because they create a cornucopia of riches for
Oh,
everybody.
that's so funny. When I first moved to New Hampshire,
baseball.
when I first moved to New Hampshire, which was 7 years ago, I kept seeing bumper stickers that said Yankees suck. And I moved here from North Carolina. And so I kept thinking, well, gee, if you don't like it, why don't you just move back to South Carolina? Okay.
Hey, I've seen the Rebel Battle Flag.
Right.
And
then I'm like, oh, wait, this is about baseball. This isn't about.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, Yankees. When I used to be down south, my father moved to Atlanta. They used to have bumper stickers like during the oil shock of '73. Once again, you're too young, which would say, let the Yankee bastards freeze in the dark. They were all Democrats then, and they thought the Republican Party of Abraham Lincoln was evil. But things change.
Mm-hmm.
So things might change.
Things might change. Things are looking up. There's going to be a committee of conference, which I've learned not to take anything for granted because that's where bills fly or they die. All I'm saying is I'm talking to you about this and I'm talking to everybody because, again, I'm not a legislator. I'm an acupuncturist. People want options for recovery. People want solutions to this opioid crisis. So I have given all my spare time to this. And in the meantime, I feel like there's just
You got jobbed in a political. I was shocked. I was really shocked by it. It seemed like it was going to sail through.
Right.
That even the the opposition that was showing its head
Right.
wouldn't dare do this when there's an opiate crisis. Here.
Oh no, they were still trying to restrict it, but again, they're minor opposition and everybody saw through their arguments. There was
Yeah.
so much support. I'm just here like airing my frustration. I'm not complaining about anybody specific. I'm just asking what went wrong? Why did this have to happen? Why is this so messy? It was going so well.
And you saw Mayor Gatsis, and he thought the bill was a good. What did he think?
Well, he actually spent a fair amount of time
Right.
looking at the House version of the bill and the Senate version of the bill, and he was really thorough. I give
He
him a
had
lot
been
of credit.
Senate president.
Yeah, he was really thorough when he looked at it, and he said that he was surprised there weren't enough more explicit rules written out in the bill, which I don't know. I've never done this before, but I was on the phone with
see,
the
yeah.
executive director for the National Acupuncture Detoxification Association, and she said, you already have all the rules in the bill. Most states don't do it that way, or they don't have
Right, but
rules ad nauseum. But apparently in New Hampshire, you need to have more explicit explanation
Yes.
of rules.
It's more of a home rule. If you go down to Alabama, everything down to every town is written actually into their constitution. They have the biggest constitution in the world, over 300,000 words as of 2005 when I had
Wow.
to edit the damn thing. And they regulate everything. So I can see Ted knows what he's talking
Yeah.
about. That to get it through New Hampshire, they want to make sure everything's spelled out so
Right.
it doesn't deviate in a way like certain, things can do it. So that's what he was probably telling you.
Right. And I asked him before the meeting concluded, I'm like, what do you think? Do you like the concept? And he said, anything that'll help us turn the corner.
Now, what would you say to somebody who say, how much is it going to cost?
I would say, it depends. People can go and take the training individually and pay
Yeah.
maybe $500 for a 70-hour course, or the state could hire a trainer, and the trainer that lives in New Hampshire trained 40 when she trained 40 state employees in the state of Texas. It was, I believe she said it was $6,000 to train 40 employees, and then she said it was an extra $120 per head to cover their certification and supplies.
How many would you expect in Manchester? How many would you need?
I would say I don't know, because again, I'm an acupuncturist. I know that this will work, but I don't know how many recovery facilities are here, and
But they're private sector.
some of them
Like
are.
Nikki
and some of them aren't.
Casey works
Yeah,
for a private
right.
sector
And
one.
so it really is up to each, it's up to the Farnham Center, how they want to do it. It's up to each thing. If the state wants to do this, they can. But really the bill is about allowing it to be possible. In terms of,
Right.
how people want to handle it afterwards, that's a whole other step.
Right, because when I was reading the bill, they said it was revenue neutral.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is you're allowing a tool that can be used, and it's revenue neutral. And like I said, the city of Manchester, I think, has put over $2 million into a lot of which are run by private sector groups, which is not
Right.
unheard of. That dates back to the 60s and stuff, and the Great Society of Lyndon Johnson, where you would finance groups to go like poverty and stuff like that. You wouldn't just rely on the federal government. So that isn't unusual, folks, that like the city would be giving money and there would be private people.
Right.
So it wouldn't necessarily, the city is given like you said, it's at the forefront now in the last year and a half of fighting this.
I live on Beach Street. I walk to work on Canal Street, and for the last few years, I've seen needles on snowbanks, on sidewalks.
Yeah, I down at
Yeah.
West High School, I saw one, which
And
was outside
yeah.
of West. I don't think it was the kid.
Right.
It was on the other side and stuff. And I know a message from Bill Berry. He wants to get together with you.
Yeah, I would love to talk to Bill Berry.
He has the subcommittee on alcohol and youth problems.
Okay.
Because how many kids get wind up in this? A lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure. I mean, you want to
You're
do
not a
prevention.
first. You're not.
I'm just adding what I know to this, and I learn more all the time. I volunteer weekly at the Helping Hands Respite Care Center over on Central Street.
What's the average addict like? Is it anybody, or is there a profile?
I would say it's a lot of young people, but not everyone there is very young.
Yeah.
A lot of people have kids, and they talk about their kids, and they want to turn their lives around and do right by their kids.
Right.
Some people have lost a spouse to the opioid crisis.
So it isn't being overstated, the opiate crisis, because originally, some of us were thinking,
It's not being
well,
overstated. And now that it's summertime or the weather is getting warmer, when I was at Helping Hands last week, the number of residents staying there dropped by about half. Nikki Casey explained to me last summer that addiction loves summer. When there's a snowstorm out, people will pack the shelters and the respite care centers.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And
you can see them strung out in the park.
And now that the weather is warmer, people can sleep in their cars. They can camp out in the parks. So really, it'd be nice if we could pass this bill so maybe by the time the weather starts getting a little bit colder and people start seeking more help, maybe we can give them something that will get them on a permanent pathway to recovery and not just a seasonal pathway to recovery.
Now, the way ear acupuncture is going to work, if I can understand, you gave me some. I've been. Where do you work? Tell the audience where you work. 'Cause I've been there.
I work at the Manchester Acupuncture Studio. We are a general practice clinic, so we treat everyone for pain, stress, anxiety. We're not addiction specific, but sometimes people come in for all kinds of addiction, but general pain and stress. And we are at 813 Canal Street in Manchester. We are at 4 Budway in Nashua, and we are a community acupuncture clinic. So our sliding scale is $15 to $35. You choose what you want to pay, no questions asked.
Yeah, nobody knows because you give the money on the outside.
And we're doing a free day on Saturday, June 3rd. It's our 10th anniversary. So free acupuncture from 9 to 4 in Manchester and from 9 to 1 at our Nashua location. So check it out on our Facebook page, Manchester Acupuncture Studio. Manchester Acupuncture Studio.
And I'll say this, my father, who had prostate cancer, 2 bouts of it, acupuncture helped him. And I have a friend who had to have a knee, surgical knee, they put one in and the other. And she went to your place. Mm-hmm. She's the one who recommended it to me. And the guy said, "Oh, you're 2 months ahead of schedule."
That's great. Her
she
recovery,
did it faithfully.
Yeah, she came in a lot and
Right.
helped her recover from surgery. As a matter of fact, my good friend blogger Susan Bruce was in a devastating car accident.
Yeah,
and
Susan the Bruce.
Yeah, Susan the Bruce. And she was over at Catholic Medical Center. And it was easy enough for me to walk to several times a week. And so I snuck into her hospital
Right,
room.
you had to, yeah.
I snuck in because I was afraid the nurses would catch me, but she said she was in too much pain to do her physical therapy, and she had to do her physical therapy to keep her healing on track. And she had casts on her legs, so I couldn't put any needles in her lower body. I just stuck pins wherever she had exposed skin, so her arms, her ears, and her head, just anywhere. And she started having less pain, less inflammation. She was able to do her physical therapy. And so most acupuncturists would say, "What do you mean you didn't give her proper diagnosis, and you didn't give her a proper treatment plan?" And you
Right, because they want to
and you
pretend
didn't
they're
use-"
physicians.
And I just said, "All right, here's lung 5. I'm just going to stick a bunch of needles there, and hopefully that'll help her back pain and her leg pain. And I'm going to put a bunch of needles in her ears, and I'm going to put some in her head."
But one of the things it does is it helps reduce the craving for drugs.
For drugs, it helps reduce the craving for drugs.
Like it does for weight. It can be helped with weight loss.
Or for smoking cessation.
Right.
So it helps with withdrawal. For the acupuncture detox, it helps with reducing the withdrawal symptoms like the body aches. It reduces the cravings, and it helps reduce the anxiety. So acupuncture is already being used in some recovery centers in New Hampshire and in other states. Yeah. But in New Hampshire, it's really only once a week if you're lucky.
Okay.
And because it's being offered by a licensed acupuncturist, and it's too expensive to hire only licensed acupuncturists to do ear acupuncture, but there's just not enough acupuncturists anyway.
Right, it would be
needs to be offered every day for at least 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
To really follow through for to test negative for any addictive substances, and then it's good to have it offered a few times a week, and ultimately once every few weeks. And it would be really great if there was places where people can go once they're done with their 28-day program to get ear acupuncture, like a respite care center, in case they may relapse.
Right. It's just like cognitive behavioral therapy, programs that you're using that, which is a very short-term therapy,
Correct.
had much greater success rates with the people. Well, you did my ear the other week, and I felt better. I was in an emergency room yesterday down down in Massachusetts.
Really?
So, can you do my ear now while we
can-
do the transition?
Yeah. While we
to
do
the
the
baseball
transition,
show?
I'll do an ear seed treatment on your ears. Okay.
Okay. And we're going to run a little tribute to the greatest Red Sox player ever, which was Carl Yastrzemski. So you, Ted Williams, and Big Pappy fans.
Deep to right field. Number 44.
Boston's Fenway Park is the setting for the two-day finale of the tightest American League race in history. Vice President Humphrey of Minnesota and Senator Edward Kennedy of Massachusetts are set to cheer the Twins and Red Sox respectively. Boston must win 2 from Minnesota. In the 7th inning, Carl Yastrzemski blasts a 3-run homer to give the Red Sox victory 6-4. Yaz ultimately winds up with the Triple Crown in batting. This home run was number 44, one more than any other left-hander in Boston history, eclipsing Ted Williams' record. With the Red Sox, Twins, and Tigers in a virtual tie for the pennant, one more Boston victory coupled with one Detroit loss would bring the bunting to Beantown and its fans. Final day, 2-all in the 6th. Boston's Harrelson hits a high bounder to Vasilis, who fires it home too late to get Dalton Jones, who scores the tiebreaker. A wild pitch by Worthington scores another Red Sox run, making it 4-2, and the Boston fans get pennant fever. Reggie Smith cracks a hard grounder to first. It bounces off Killebrew, and Boston has a 5-run inning. With a 2-run lead in the 9th, a short pop to Petroselli ends it, and Boston wins the American League pennant for the first time in 21 years in a rags-to-riches comeback. Fans mob winning pitcher Jim Lomberg, whose 22nd win, his first ever against Minnesota, is the most important of all. Thus, the Red Sox, who finished 9th last year, are this year's Cinderella Sox and face the Cardinals in the World Series.
He leads off the Boston 4th. And with the fans, it's Yaz for Mayer. Yaz smashes an outside pitch to left. It's in the netting for a home run. That's number 3 for the Boston Slugger in the series and ties the score 2-all.
I think it's especially disconcerting to a guy like Vida Blue when the left-handers do hit him, because it just makes him think a little bit more about it.
Here's a high drive, left field, going back, looking up, goodbye. Talking about work cut out for him. There's a nice piece of work right there.
Vida's got to be wondering what's going on.
And Jackson lines a base hit. Yastrzemski throws to second. Here comes Jackson. Here comes the throw. He's out. Carl Yastrzemski.
We're out at Fenway Park, and Carl Yastrzemski is coming up for his 4th appearance at the plate. We want to remind you we are shifting away just for Yastrzemski's appearances at the plate as a public service. When his turn at the plate is done, we switch you back without having missed a scene. Yastrzemski so far tonight has singled in a run, walked, and flied to right. We're following him in his quest for home run number 400. Long drive, right field, way back, near the wall, and there it is! Home run number 400, Carl Yastrzemski. Now, listen and watch.
There goes the ground ball, base hit, number 3,000. Yastrzemski's got it. And all hell breaks loose at Fenway Park.
You're watching it. We're not going to play baseball for a while.
Hi, and welcome to the baseball show. Hey, how come I'm not lit my beautiful self? Am I lit? We might have to rearrange some of the cameras.
You are lit.
Okay, it's just well,
You're lit.
usually I wash
You're
my
lit.
glasses before I
John,
come.
you're lit.
I think I need, Joel is good. Joel Elber.
Yeah.
Hello, Joel, and that's good news. And he knows how to keep his bald pate sparkling under the lights. We have Mr. Baseball here, John Weeks, who we have an exciting announcement, right?
Yes, another show.
starting on Monday, probably 2 Mondays from now. I would expect 2 weeks.
Well, they are. We're getting a Matt Connerton fan. I guess she just likes the youngins, huh?
Yes.
You're going to show Mr. Baseball. You're going to tape it on Mondays,
Right.
but that doesn't mean it's going to be broadcast that day.
Right.
Because Nikki Casey's doing her show, right?
Oh, Nikki Casey's show is on hold because of her new job.
She has a new job? Well,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that
And
after
it's going to be
the
in
show.
Nashua, so her show's on hold.
Oh, well, you should take it over.
I'm thinking about it.
Okay, but we'll get to Mr. Baseball. Your show is called?
Mr. Baseball.
That's right. And they're thinking of the first shows will be from Billy's, taping them at Billy's.
Yeah, I hope to get that squared away immediately.
Yeah, there's a nice nook there over where Ted Williams is having his last hit and his last home run, over near the what they call the head in the Navy.
Okay.
But that'll mean a lot of fans will be going by.
Right, he hit it off Fisher of the Orioles.
Hey, Samantha wasn't there when I went there around
She
noontime.
wasn't?
No.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
No.
You were there before 5 then?
Yes.
Yeah, she probably came on at 5.
I was going over there from, where was it? Oh, it was up at Dartmouth Hitchcock. I go from bounce between various hospitals. VA hospitals in the Boston area, because we don't have a hospital here.
So what
Then
about
Dartmouth
Poutine
Hitchcock.
Fest? Are you going to be announcing on Poutine Fest? I just want to talk about Poutine Fest.
That has nothing to do with baseball.
But it's at the baseball park.
It is.
Yes.
I don't know anything about it.
Oh, it's June 24th at the Fisher Cat Stadium.
No
There's
kidding.
going to be baseball and poutine. I mean, how do you not love that?
Well, we need to go and talk to the Fisher
Yeah.
Cats about that. Have you ever had poutine?
You need in on that.
Have you ever had poutine?
I don't know. What is it?
It's French fries and gravy and cheese
Oh,
curds.
Uh-oh, I'm not...
It's a whole, like,
It's a no-no.
I'm not
but it's
trained
good.
here.
Oh, it's amazing.
I'm going to move the camera. Keep
I'm a
talking.
vegetarian and I love poutine. I just can't eat most poutine because the gravy's not vegetarian.
Right.
But it's at the ballpark and it's super exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to be there.
What day of the week is it?
It's Saturday, June 24th.
I'm working.
I know, I'm working too. I'm going to miss it. But I was there last year.
Don't worry about that. I got that.
Well, I do, because I'm not...
Nope.
Bring it back.
John's playing with the
I'm gonna be
cameras.
directing the first shows of Mr. Baseball.
But anyway, if we talk about baseball, I just want to talk about poutine. and
Talk
Poutine
about
Fest.
poutine. Were you an Expos fan as a young girl? You're part French-Canadian.
I don't know what the Expos are. I didn't.
You don't know what the Expos are?
Yeah.
Well, the Washington Nationals now.
Yeah, okay, all right.
It used to be Montreal.
Okay, so yeah, my parents actually have season tickets for the Washington Nationals.
They live in Washington?
Mm-hmm.
See, I can be in...
Yeah, my
nuts
mom
and
is
bloody boys.
Franco-American, which is why I love poutine. It's in my blood.
Franco-American. Is she Franco-American or French-Canadian?
She always said French-Canadian.
Right. This Franco-American. You go to Missouri and places, they'll tell you, because there's a huge
Mm-hmm.
community there. No, I'm not one of those... Well, we won't use the F word, which is like a
Right.
toad or something, a frog. I'm not one of those frogs from Quebec, Hoppy. I'm a Franco-American. Hey, be proud to be French-Canadian.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, I'm half French-Canadian. My mom's from Maine, but I grew up in D.C. So when I found out about poutine, I was super excited. But I have to I can only go to Montreal and have it because that's where they make it with the vegetarian gravy.
I got you.
But
What about Chez Vachon?
Franco-American Day is going to be at the ballpark on Saturday, June 24th, and it's amazing.
They call it
I couldn't get it
Franco-American Day?
What's that?
They call it
They call it Franco-American Day. No, they call it. They call it that, and they call it Poutine Fest.
Well, the Expos. Tell her about the Expos, Mr. Baseball. I want to try some unusual camera angles.
The Expos,
1969.
yeah, we're given a
It's fancy.
franchise in Montreal, and they never really did anything. They strike year of '94, they were in first place, as well as the Yankees in the American League, and there was speculation they would meet in the World Series, but it didn't happen.
Mr. Baseball, 1981. Another strike year.
They
had
they had the split season, and they ended up playing the Dodgers in the playoffs.
I want to arrange these in an exciting way. Like I always wanted to be Martin Scorsese.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just here because he asked me to be here today.
So
Hey, they're pepping me up. Hey, can we try out the other cameras with the unique angle? Oh, I don't think that's one's going to work. Look at it. I'm going to have to do it again. Hey, there's my bald spot. I think we're going to have a much smaller camera for you, Mr. Baseball.
Oh, really?
Oh, see, because it's right there. Keep talking.
Yeah, so tell us so you're going to have a new show.
Yes.
The baseball show. What day of the week and what time?
Mondays
Okay.
at 10:30.
We don't know the time.
But what time will we film it?
I don't know. We can go to. When do you want to go to Billy's?
We can go anytime.
Yeah. Tell them
So
about
are you going to be
Billy's.
talking about like national or like you're going to talk about like sort of like the Fisher Cats or maybe
They
Major
may
League
be
or
they may be brought up, but it's mostly Major League
okay.
and a lot of trivia,
Okay.
stats. You want to know something about certain World Series? We've got that nailed.
Mhm.
And you can bring up any year you want. We'll give you the highlights of that World Series and highlights of the year in a lot of cases.
Oh, I wonder if this is going to interfere. Hey, let's see some of those camera angles.
So.
Oh, everything's falling apart here.
Yeah, you can't take him anywhere.
I kept Jason on the phone.
Oh, why?
Please stop touching the cameras.
Oh, come on. We want to have some excitement here.
So.
I thought he didn't watch any of the shows. See, it should be, we're talking about you're going to have your show. The problem is when I watch these shows, you're looking at me, and when you're watching it, see, look at your side. He's looking so to the side.
Mm-hmm.
I would like you to, I want to get that face, that Mr. Baseball face. Where we're going to have
But
gonna make
you move the camera though, so it's over there when it should
well,
be
can't
there.
they move? Can't you move them remotely?
I don't know. Can you?
No, I'm asking Kirsten. Well, let's see what can happen. We should do this in the
What's your
beginning.
favorite year for baseball?
1956.
Okay.
And that's because the Yankees were down 2-0, and they came back and won it. And in the last 5 games of that World Series, something happened you'll never ever see again. 5 different Yankee pitchers pitched a complete game. Bob Turley losing 1-0 in 10 innings.
I don't know what a complete game is.
It's a pitcher that pitches the whole game.
Oh.
It's almost unheard of these days.
Mm-hmm.
And for instance, in 1969, Bob Gibson had 29 complete games. It's rare if a team has 10 altogether for a season, let alone one pitcher. So it's interesting. But that was my favorite year. And they also avenged the year before. They lost in 55 to the same Dodgers. And that was my favorite year. 58 was nice. They were down 3-1 to the Braves and came back to win that World Series. That's when the Braves were in Milwaukee. And they had lost to the Braves a year before. So I don't believe in the revenge thing. I'll never forget in 1960 said the Pirates want to avenge the 1927 World Series where the Yankees swept them. They didn't even have one player from 27 on the 60 team.
Mm-hmm.
It was dumb. But that's baseball.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're a real Yankees fan, it sounds like.
Die hard.
Yeah, so what makes you a Yankees fan as opposed to, like a Mets fan?
Well, I was a Yankee fan before the Mets were born.
Okay.
And my brother pushed me into being a Yankee fan. He wouldn't let me be a Red Sox fan. Mm-hmm. He was 15 months older. Mm-hmm. Just lost him in November. Oh. And so I became a Yankee fan and a die-hard baseball fan. Mm-hmm. I haven't missed a World Series game since 1949. Wow. Time flies. Mm-hmm. And I remember that series, the Yankees beat the Dodgers. They played a lot against each other. Mm-hmm. And that's when they were in Brooklyn, of course, the Dodgers. And the Yankees won that series 4-1. And I'll never forget the first game because it was 0-0 going to the bottom of the 9th inning. And Tommy Henrich hit a home run off Don Newcomb, and that was the final score, 1-0. Mm-hmm. So tell me more about your Fisher Cats. Day, night.
Of the Poutine Fest or the well, I mean, one thing I can say, and I don't go to a lot of baseball, but from the one time I remember going to a major league game, it was in Cincinnati, and it was Chicago. It was the
Cubs?
The Cubs playing the Cincinnati Reds.
Okay.
And I scored some really great seats, and I thought this is going to be really great. Only the really great seats were still so far back that the players looked so tiny. Now I like going to minor league games because you really get to see the action.
You're on top of it.
Yeah. And so, maybe I'll go to I go to one game a summer. I feel like it's not summer unless you've been to at least one minor league baseball game. And I might not know a lot about the game, but I do enjoy it. And I feel like you really have a chance to understand it when you're that close and it's that intimate of a setting.
Exactly. And the minor league baseball is you'll see a lot of players coming right through Manchester here for the Fisher Cats that are in the major leagues in a year or two.
Yeah.
And so it's a great minor league system. Mm-hmm. This is Double-A ball, but I've seen so many players jump from Double-A, skipping Triple-A and going right to the major leagues and sticking. If you've got it, sometimes you're there. Mm-hmm. And
so tell us about baseball scandals. Any favorite scandals?
Yeah, well, the biggest one ever was 1919, and the Chicago White Sox threw the World Series to the Cincinnati Reds. Arnold Rothstein, a big gambler, set it up. Chick Gandil, the first baseman, was the go-to guy for the White Sox. And the reason they threw it is because Charles Comiskey was very cheap, and he wouldn't pay his players. The other teams' players were making more, and the White Sox had one of the best teams in baseball. But there were 8 of them kicked out of the World Series, and Chick Gandil at first, and well, I'll go through. Ray Schalk was a catcher; he wasn't kicked out. Chick Gandil at first, Eddie Collins at second. Swede Riesberg, the shortstop, was thrown out. Buck Weaver, the third baseman, was thrown out. Shoeless Joe Jackson, the left fielder, was thrown out. Happy Felsch, center field, was thrown out. And Mueller, Collins, and Donahue played right field. They both weren't thrown out. And Eddie Saicotti and Lefty Williams, 2 pitchers, were thrown out.
So that's why they did it. They did it to get a pay raise.
Yeah.
It's like a worker strike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they didn't, some of them didn't get the money. Shoeless Joe didn't get a cent, but he conspired to throw it. Mm-hmm. And they were actually acquitted in court, believe it or not. But Judge Landis, who became the commissioner of baseball a year later, he just banned the 8 of them, which you couldn't do today with the courts and everything. He threw them out, and they were out for good.
And that is the basis for one of my favorite movies, Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I am not big on movies, baseball movies. I did see the Field of Dreams. It was interesting, but there was a big flaw in that movie. Mm-hmm. They had Ray Liotta playing Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Okay, and that was a flaw because?
Because they had him batting right-handed. And Shoeless Joe was a left-handed hitter all the way.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that's really interesting.
So I thought I'd show off as a left theater, and I said it loud enough to my wife. I said, "You know what was wrong with that movie?" Everybody's looking around. So I said they had Shoeless Joe batting right-handed, and I remember reading an article probably 3 or 4 years after that where Ray Liotta said if he had known he would have batted left-handed and learned to swing the bat better and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and another baseball movie, which I haven't seen in many years, was A League of Their Own. It was about a women's baseball league. So what do you know about women's baseball league?
Yeah, they were they came back just a few years ago, and they were Colorado Silver Bullets. Mm-hmm. And Missy McInerney was on that team, and I had her in Little League.
Okay.
She was as good a Little Leaguer as any boy I ever had. Well, Darren Jackson was better. But Missy could play baseball. She made the All-Star team every year. But then when she became 13 and the field got bigger, she couldn't compete with the boys. She couldn't get to first base like the boys could. And she had an arm on her, and her father played in the major leagues. And her brother what was his name? Timmy. No, Timmy Liana was his nephew.
But wasn't there a time in history when there was, there was a women's league baseball
Right, during the war.
during the war? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They wore short little skirts like brownie outfits, and yeah, they entertained. They had some good ball players. I don't know much about the league as I would like to, but it was good baseball, and it was hardball. It was baseball, not softball. So they played that. I enjoyed it. The movie. That's one of the few I did enjoy. And of course, you remember the old line: "There's no crying in baseball." Tom Hanks, the manager, one of the girls is crying. So, what's John doing?
I'm handling the trivia questions off camera.
Okay.
Oh.
Liz, here's a question that's coming in.
Okay.
Ask Mr. Baseball what Hall of Fame manager was associated with the Women's League.
Okay, so what Hall of Fame manager was associated with the Women's
Played by
League?
Tom Hanks in the movie under a different name.
Played by Tom Hanks in the movie.
And remember when she goes to the Baseball Hall of Fame, they have him there, and they have him hitting 58 home runs.
Can you just get back on your show and do
I
your
thought,
show, John?
I thought it was Phil Negro that managed. No, Phil.
World War II.
Yeah, World War II. So he hit 58 home runs, but in his whole career.
I'm the director. We're getting you two. You're going to be hosts of shows. So
Yeah.
we're breaking you in. This
Yeah.
is like minor league training. 58 homers.
Okay.
In his career.
No.
In one season?
Liz, look at the cameras we set up, which are probably going to get suspended for moving.
Well, the only two that hit 58 homers were Jimmy Fox and Hank Greenberg. That hit 58 in a season.
It was Jimmy Fox.
It was Jimmy Fox. Okay.
You need to talk to her.
You need to move the cameras back where they were supposed to be.
Please, if I touch the cameras now, they're probably going to lynch
Yeah,
me.
yeah, I
Or,
think
in
so.
the words of the Honorable Joel Elber, they're going to launch me.
Right.
Launch
right.
you.
Yeah.
So,
They can do all the stuff with joysticks out there.
do you have another trivia, did you say? Or
Who was the baseball owner in the Hall of Fame who launched the All-Girls League? He's also known for a ballpark and chewing gum.
Yeah, I was going to say Wrigley.
Here
Wrigley.
you go. Yeah.
Wrigley, yeah.
Where was there another Wrigley Field, Mr. Baseball?
That was in L.A.
And
Oh,
who
is that
played
right?
there?
I played there, but the L.A. Stars played there, and the Angels played down at Third and Fairfax in L.A., which is long gone. But Wrigley Field's still there.
It is?
Yeah, I played a playoff game there when I was in the Muni Leagues. A couple guys hit it out for us. I didn't get one, but that left field wall wasn't that far.
Another trivia question came in. Speaking of Los Angeles, Hollywood Park is gone.
Yes.
Who used to own, what famous movie star owned both Hollywood Park and the Major League Baseball team?
Bing Crosby.
That's right. And my father, a World War II vet, as a young, joined at 17, was out in L.A. because he was stationed in San Diego. And Bing Crosby at Hollywood Park would give his box to the servicemen.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So he hated John Wayne with a passion, and Bob Hope, but
He didn't hate Bob Hope, did he?
yeah, they made him go see a Bob Hope show when he wanted to write
They
letters.
did all those road shows together.
Bob Hope. My father was a FDR Democrat, although he had a point around '68 that he was flirting with George Wallace, but kind of like nowadays.
Crosby-
But he came back to the
Yeah.
fold.
Crosby also owned Del Mar.
He owned Del Mar too,
Yeah,
in San Diego.
Near San Diego, yeah. Very close. Yeah, I went there a few times.
Is it still open?
I think it is. Hollywood Park is long gone. There's going to be a football stadium there.
Right.
Where they raised it. And it's next to the Forum.
Right.
Which is a beautiful facility, and I don't know why they went downtown, but I'm sure they had their reason.
Remember, it was in a nasty neighborhood.
What was it? Prairie and Manchester and Prairie, that's not a terrible area. Plenty
Well,
of parking.
To the people that became L.A. Lakers fans in the 80s, well, it was.
Oh.
That's one of the reasons they moved it. Jack Kent Cook, what? Oh, I just gave you the thing. What great football owner, it was Jack Kent Cook that owned the farm. He built it.
Right, yeah. He owned the Kings and the Lakers.
And what famous lawyer and also a baseball team owner did Jack Kent Cook beat out of his share of the Redskins? Formerly the Redskins, and then we'll get to that. We're going for a football question.
Oh God! Don't even talk about football.
Yeah,
they're going to launch you if you talk like that.
I'm with you there, but I'm trying to think of his name. Did he coach also?
He was the man to see, the most powerful lawyer in Washington history. He defended Jimmy Hoffa, and Bobby Kennedy, when he was doing the rackets investigation, said if this person could get Jimmy Hoffa off, he'd jump off the Capitol. He got him off and sent Bobby Kennedy a parachute. And Edward Bennett Williams.
Yeah.
Who?
He was also associated with the Orioles.
He owned the Orioles. That's when a top lawyer could actually wind up owning a baseball team.
Oh, they still can't they?
Well, he was $1,000 an hour, even in the '60s, which that'd be $5,000, like Bob Bennett is now, who's Clinton's lawyer. But it was Joe Califano after he was LBJ, in the LBJ administration. And then he was with Jimmy Carter. He taught him how to double bill, and then he really became rich.
Became rich, huh?
Double bill. I had some lawyers. I was about to say this. Christ, we don't want to be sacrilegious, though. Geez, I had lawyers that the quadruple bill. Mm-hmm. They send what they do is they send an email around to each other, and then they tick it. Some people do 6 minutes for the tick. Some 15.
Some 15.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah. Do you have any? Did we ever get to any closure on the Expos?
No, I don't think so.
81. Who started managing the Expos at the beginning of the season? He was in the last baseball show. There were pictures of him in a Kelly green uniform.
Not Dick Williams.
Dick Williams. Remember?
Was it Dick Williams?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
wow.
they fired him after there was a baseball strike. Mm-hmm. One of the most famous strikes. And they won that one.
Yeah.
And they actually won the second one, too, in 94, 95.
Yeah.
But
Dick Williams, he was around.
But they
made the rounds.
But the players couldn't stand him. So
yeah, that's what I
took over, though? Was it Jim Fry?
Someone like that.
They got him in the playoffs. But
yeah.
That was as close as they came. So this team up in Canada, twice it came. That's the closest it ever came to getting the playoffs of the World Series. And each time there was a strike.
Yeah.
And that strike killed Toronto's team, too. They were getting 3 million fans, almost 4 million a year. And then the strike.
That's right, because they had one in 92 and 93.
And they just didn't come back.
No.
See, the Fisher Cats are a Toronto Blue Jays
Right,
franchise.
that's right. Yep.
There have been 2 strikes where there's no World Series. 1904 and 1994.
No, 1904 it was just because the strike was John
That's
McGraw
right.
didn't want to play.
John McGraw said the Red Sox were an inferior team, although they had just won the World Series the year before against.
Jimmy Collins,
Yeah.
And Cy Young was on that team.
Yeah,
probably the greatest pitcher in history.
He lost the first World Series game ever.
He did.
Yeah.
Cy Young.
Yeah.
They named the award, the Cy Young Award for the best pitcher.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
But John McGraw said he didn't want to play the National League because they're inferior.
American League.
American League because they're inferior. They had just started up in 1901. Van Johnson's baby. And the real truth is about 10 years earlier, he was on the old Boston Orioles, the nastiest, dirtiest team ever. He was a second baseman, right?
Yes, he was.
You'd come around second base, he'd grab you by the belt, he'd kick you. With umpires, they'd throw dirt in their face and everything. He was Muggsy. He was the nastiest guy. And they touched off the Orioles a riot at the old Huntington ballpark in Boston and burned part of the city down. So he did not want to have a World Series in Boston where he could get, in the words of the Honorable Joel Elber, launched.
There were 2 3-game winners in that first World Series.
This is his forte.
Yeah, the Bill Dineen of the Red Sox won 3. Cy Young won 2. So those were the 5 victories, the 5 out of 9.
Were they called the Red Sox then, or were
No,
they just
the
called
Pilgrims.
The Americans? The Pilgrims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were called the Americans also. I don't know which year.
Well, it's just that you called
same
teams like...
I call them the Red Sox, same franchise.
The official franchise title would be the Boston American League team.
That's like the New York Yankees were the Knickerbockers. And I remember, not remember, but I know them only as the Yankees.
Well, I thought they were just the Highlanders. They were the Baltimore team, and then they came. One of the great gamblers of all time bought the failed after just 1 year, the Baltimore American League franchise, and put it in New York. A gambler.
Huh.
And he's the guy who hired Hal Chase.
And that's the team that became the Yankees.
Yeah.
You know.
And the less we say about the evil empire on this show, look, he's wearing a New York talisman.
Somebody's got to wear it. They make the jewelry for us to buy.
Geez, I tell you, I remember Roger Angell, one of the great baseball
writers. Yeah.
Was he writing for the New Yorker or something? He became a Mets fan fairly early. You know, with Casey Stengel. He hates Casey Stengel. We won't get into that. The professor. Mm-hmm. And he said they were so hapless. They set a modern league record of losing 120 games. And they only 120 to 40 because they didn't even play 2.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Breslin, a famous Irish-American journalist, was interviewing him, and he said the famous thing, "Can't anybody here play this game?" He was so frustrated because he'd won 10 pennants and 7 World Series with the Yankees. But then everybody started falling in love with the Mets. And what he said is like, being a Yankees fan, it's like being in love with U.S. Steel or General Motors. You know, it's a gold bond, gilt bond. And they just took the Mets to the heart. You know?
Yeah, they did. A lot of them did, and they missed the Giants and Brooklyn. So they had a National League base in New York to begin with.
What Hall of Famer and the Mets established himself because they won a lottery for Tom Seaver, who got freed because of some tampering with when they signed him to a contract. So the Mets won the lottery and got Tom Seaver. I'd say he was the great pitcher of his time.
Yeah.
Tom, terrific. What Hall of Famer we got to start hit a home run off of the great Tom Seaver, a first ballot Hall of Famer, 90 plus, and this guy was 90 plus too. And they were on the same team, but in a different year. What Hall of Famer in the 75 All-Star game hit a dinger off of Tom Seaver?
Wasn't the first Grand Slam, right?
No, it's Tom Seaver, 75
Yeah.
All-Star game. And I had it in the interlude, but I had to cut it out for time.
I don't know unless it was Gibson. That's the only
interlude.
The interlude.
Yes. Yes.
Well.
See, I stumped them.
Yeah. For everything I know, there are 100,000 things I don't know.
Right. On your show, you're going to have people surrender their electronics.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the thing, you know.
Yeah.
Even that Bing Crosby one, I'm sure they could have got to.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Hey, tell people where you work and where do you work? You're a bartender. I just visited you the other day.
Yeah, I'm at the North End Bistro, Myrtle and Elm, open Wednesday through Saturday. And
this used to be the way we cook.
Yes.
Okay.
They still have that sign up there, too.
Yeah, they
All
do.
right.
And that's where I am.
Okay, and don't you have a sign-off?
Absolutely. Cindy, pour me a beer. I'm heading over to Billy's Sports Bar.
Now, next week we're going to have a baseball show, a full one, because we'll start with we'll know more about the plans at Billy's, because we're going to tape some of your games right there at Billy. And it's a half-hour show. You're not live.
Right.
Thank you, Liz, for joining us.
Thank you. I'm more excited about going to the Fisher Cat Stadium this summer. And Poutine Fest.
And you can come to the next baseball show and tell us all about poutine.
All right.
And I want you to learn a little more about the Expos, because as somebody that also is French Canadian, I did not want to see him go. But then I went the Nats. I love the Nats too.
Yeah, I went to one game in Montreal. Took my boys.
This is such a great camera angle. It's like cinema. It's like cinema. Oh, I love it. Of course, I'm going to be suspended. I'll have to tape my show at Billy's too.
Okay.
Bye.
So wait, where is Billy's Sports Bar?
Where is Billy's Sports Bar?
It's on Tam. I always get it met.
It's up near the Elliott Hospital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's right near the Elliott Hospital.
Right
in
near the
next
Elliott
corner.
Hospital. Folks, we'll see you next week, unless I've been launched by the station manager, which I don't think I deserve, but what can you do, you know? What can you do?
What can you do?
I like those angles, and in fact, I'm going to take pictures of them, and we'll chalk them out. Oh, my God. Adios!
Okay.